All right, we're going to talk about cybersecurity today, but let's forget all the jargon and the complex code for a minute. Instead, we're going to hack your understanding of it by connecting these big ideas to things you already know and use every single day. So let me ask you this. What does the lock on your front door have in common with your email password? I know, it sounds like a riddle, right? But the answer is pretty much everything. They're both that first line of defense for the stuff you care about, and you'll see just how deep that connection goes.
So let's start with a new way of thinking. I want you to imagine your entire digital life, your accounts, your files, all of it as a fortress. It's got walls, it's got gates, it's got guards. But the most important question we have to ask first is, what exactly are we protecting inside? In the cybersecurity world, all those valuables inside your fortress, they have a name: assets. And really, it's just a simple way of saying the things we want to protect. And we're not just talking about your bank account details. We're talking about your photos, your private messages with friends, your work documents. These are the digital jewels you've got stashed away inside your castle. Okay, so every fortress needs a set of rules to run properly. And for our digital fortress, the rules are surprisingly simple. In fact, we can understand them perfectly by thinking about something really low-tech: a secret diary. Believe it or not, the entire foundation of information security is built on just three core principles. It's known as the CIA Triad. And no, not that CIA. This one stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. First up, you've got confidentiality. This is really just about keeping your secrets secret. It's all about making sure only the right people can get a look at your information. You know, just like that little metal lock on a diary, digital confidentiality uses tools like encryption to slam the door on anyone who isn't supposed to be reading your stuff. Next on the list is integrity. Now, this means making sure that nobody can sneak in and change what you wrote. The information has to be trustworthy. It has to be accurate. I mean, if someone could just rewrite your diary entries, the whole thing would be useless, right? So in the digital world, we use things like backups and special codes called checksums to make sure our data hasn't been secretly messed with. And finally, there's availability. This one's super straightforward. You need to be able to read your own diary whenever you want to. What good is a secret if even you can't get to it? So this principle is all about making sure that the right people have reliable access when they need it. It's a really crucial point. Security isn't just about locking things away. It's also about making sure they're available to the people who are supposed to have them. So let's just put that all together real quick. Confidentiality, that's the lock on your diary. In digital terms, that's encryption. Integrity, that's making sure the pages haven't been changed. We do that with backups. And availability, well, that's just knowing your diary is always there on the shelf. And in the tech world, that means things like system redundancies and proper maintenance. Okay, so we've got our fortress and we've got our rules. Now for the big question. Who gets the keys to the place? And to understand this, let's just imagine we're all checking into a hotel. You know when you get that hotel key card, it doesn't open every single room in the building, does it? Of course not. It only opens your room, and maybe the gym or the pool. Well, this is a huge security concept called the principle of least privilege. It just means that people should only have the absolute minimum level of access they need to do their job, nothing more. That way, if an account ever gets compromised, the damage is contained. You might not even realize it, but that whole process of getting your key card follows a very strict 4-step security model. First, you identify yourself. You tell them your name. Then you authenticate. You prove it by showing your ID. Third, you're authorized when they hand you a key programmed just for your room. And finally, there's accountability. The hotel's computer system keeps a log of every single time your key is used. That model, identification, authentication, authorization, and accountability, is exactly how secure computer systems figure out who you are and what you're allowed to do. So how do systems prove it's actually you? Well, in the world of security, there are really only 3 fundamental ways to do it. We call them factors. There's something you know, like a password or a PIN. There's something you have, like your phone, getting a code or a physical key card. And then there's something you are, a biometric, like your fingerprint or your face. Now, the really strong security systems make you prove your identity with at least 2 of these. And that's what we all know as two-factor or multi-factor authentication. Right, so we've built our fortress, we've figured out the keys, but what's a fortress without some bad guys trying to break in? In the digital world, these threats pop up in a ton of different forms, from sneaky programs to some pretty clever psychological tricks. So let's talk about the intruder's toolkit, which is basically malware. You've got a virus, which acts a lot like a biological one. It has to latch onto a clean program to survive. Then you've got a worm, which is even scarier because it can copy itself and spread all on its own across a network. A Trojan horse? Well, it's named after the Greek myth for a reason. It's a nasty program disguised as something helpful. And then you have the really nasty stuff, like ransomware, which is basically a digital kidnapper that locks up all your files and demands a ransom to get them back. But here's the thing, not all attacks use complicated code. Some of the most effective ones are the ones that prey on us, on human psychology. It's called social engineering, and the most common version you'll see is phishing. Phishing is basically just a scam, usually an email that's designed to trick you into doing something you shouldn't, like clicking a bad link, or even worse, giving away your password. So what does one of these phishing attacks actually look like? Well, it probably looks a lot like this. You see how it creates a sense of panic, a sense of urgency? It's designed to make you act before you think. They want you to freak out and click that link, which, of course, will take you to a fake login page that looks real but is just built to steal your username and password. Okay, enough of the scary stuff. How do we actually defend our fortress against all these threats? Well, we use a combination of smart digital security guards and some really powerful secret codes. Our digital guards are called intrusion detection systems, and you can think of them in two main ways. First, you have the bouncer with a list of known troublemakers. This is called signature-based detection. It's fantastic at stopping threats we've seen before, but it's totally blind to brand new attacks that aren't on the list. The second type is more like a seasoned security guard who just gets a gut feeling when something's off. This is anomaly-based detection. It takes the time to learn what normal looks like on your network, and it flags anything that seems weird or out of place. And because of that, it can actually spot threats that have never been seen before. And what about those secret codes? That's the world of cryptography. There are two main flavors. The first is called symmetric encryption. Imagine you and a friend have a special lockbox, and you both share the exact same key. It's really fast, but you've got a big problem. How you get that secret key to your friend securely in the first place? Well, asymmetric encryption solves this brilliantly. Imagine you have a mailbox with a mail slot. Anyone in the world can drop a letter in through that slot. That's your public key. But only you have the private key to actually open the mailbox and read the letters. This idea is the foundation of almost all the security we use on the internet today.
All right, let's bring all this home. We've talked about fortresses and diaries and hotels and all these analogies. Now let's turn these concepts into a simple, practical playbook for your own digital life. Here are 4 things you can go do right now. Number 1, use strong, unique passwords for every single account. A password is like a wall. The longer and more complex it is, the harder it is to knock down. 2, turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere you possibly can. Honestly, it's the single best thing you can do for your security. It's just like adding a second, totally different lock to your front door. 3, keep your software updated. I know those update pop-ups are annoying, but they often contain critical patches for security holes. And finally, 4, be suspicious. Be wary of those urgent emails. Always think before you click.
Because here's the truth. Securing your digital life is not a one-and-done kind of thing. Your fortress is never really finished. It needs constant care and maintenance. So the question I want to leave you with is this. As you think about your own defenses, what's one wall you're going to strengthen today?